is a dog. This looks pretty legit.
Oh, wait, here, we'll move this.
What? How are you gonna...
Yeah, shoot. Get the water on the Bible.
First off, I'd like to show everybody how awesome my hair is.
I like closing my eyes. I was praying.
Show how awesome my hair is.
I'm like, ah.
She doesn't.
Sorry, here. I'm trying to get the timers because we're trying to be
She thinks
a
it's
little more
bogus.
legit. Yeah, your hair looks like shit.
It looks awesome.
No pun intended.
It looks
I can't find my little...
awesome. It looks like Brad Pitt's haircut in Fight Club before he shaved his head.
Yeah, so
Inky,
if you
pipe
hear a
down.
timer going off, we're going to break the video up into like 10 minutes of like whatever, 15 to 20 minutes of, you know, like what God's doing in our life or things that we've been learning. And then 20 minutes of reading the chapters. We're going to try to each do one chapter so we can start getting some headway in. So that's sort of the plan because we kind of reconvened after the other video and...
Because she keeps blabbing and making the videos longer and longer.
Well, it's so easy to do.
We got a dog. We got a dog. It's the best type of dog.
Yes.
It doesn't bark. It doesn't eat. It doesn't poop. It doesn't get in the way.
So we had a birthday over here.
His name is Dogface.
So Bella and I bought Jason his very own dog because he was getting lonely at night.
Dogface.
Inky, our cat, wasn't doing it, and he's a really good dog. And as you can probably see, the big happy birthday balloon over
he's
there.
hanging on. He's hanging on.
Oh, wow. He's so cute.
He's got strong front paws.
These guys are so funny. We found them at our grocery store.
That's legit.
They have puppies. They had a bulldog. They had a unicorn. We're going to get
Seriously,
Bella
dog?
a unicorn for her birthday next month. But yeah, this guy had a birthday on Friday the 14th.
I'm
And
34.
as our candles say.
That's
My
right.
birthday was
I even
on
have the
January the
candles to prove
10th, and I won't... I can't remember my age half the time, but I am 38,
See,
I
look,
believe.
I've got the candles to prove. Oh wait, that's not. That's how they're supposed to go like that.
Oh,
They're
jeez.
not supposed to go like this. That's incorrect. Don't listen to
You
That's fake news. If anybody tells you.
I think the highlight of the birthdays was the cake I made, right, babe? It's over there.
I would show it now, but it's in shambles.
I know.
Like total shambles.
I wish we could have
I've been
like got it
stabbing
for the
and picking
video,
at it,
or like we should add like a picture. So it was a Twix anti-gravity cake. So
it floats around, and I've got to chase it and jump and grab it if I want to eat it. It's like one of those joke cakes, like the blow candles that don't blow out. The cake floats around. I've got to.
it's more of like a. So it's a regular like a regular double cake, like it's a regular chocolate cake, double layer cake with chocolate icing in the middle, and then regular chocolate buttercream frosting on it, and then chocolate ganache on top of the frosting. But then we take the Twix and you put it around the cake, and then you can take either they make kits like anti-gravity kits, or what we did is took a straw and like a wooden skewer, and you poke it in the middle of the cake, and then you take like you could either do chocolate or candy melts, and you melt it, and then you stick the Twix and you build it up the straw all the way, and then we attach the Twix bag so it kind of looks like it's floating in the air, and then the Twix are pouring down the pole, and then we stuck Twix like all in a corner of the cake. So they're
Okay, Emerald. They don't need to hear your life story.
I'm just explaining what the actual anti-gravity cake is. It's not just a flying cake. But anywho, hopefully everybody had a really good week.
What? Can't what?
We
It's driving me out of my mind.
started our new life group at church. I don't think we actually told anybody about that. I'm trying to remember. We've had so much going on, actually, in the last couple weeks. You know, with we started the Holy Spirit class. We're starting a life group because our daughter goes to Kids Life at our church. at night. So we're meeting with it's kind of like a Bible study, but it's like mixed. It's not just for like a woman study or a man study. You can do it together as couples, and we're going to start going over the Bible, and we actually have to look at the questions for this week. So we have questions and all that kind of jazz. So I'm excited for that. And we're doing the Holy Spirit class, as well as we're still getting through Revelation.
Yeah.
We're still getting all that. And then we're still reading through the Bible as a church.
I'll just sum up Revelation for you.
Yeah, you do Revelation.
When Revelation happens, when the 7 years and the day of the Lord comes.
Our cats are retarded.
When the day of the Lord comes, be somewhere else. Pretty much. Well, you want to be up in heaven.
Just be a believer.
You want to
that's
be.
What I'm gonna say.
You want to have been raptured. I mean, up until that point, it's bad. It's all bad.
Yeah.
You just want to be somewhere else during that whole time period. Hopefully, you've been educated enough and not duped like that scumbag POS Pope, who was just saying, like, what, a month ago, like, it's dangerous to just think you can have a relationship with God without the church. Like, and he wasn't meaning it like, all three together. It was just like, don't cut us out type thing. Like, so I think more and more people are. The only reason you get announcements like that, it's just
maybe
like when
people are branching off to more of the Christian biblical
it's
churches,
just like when I think
instead of relying on maybe the Catholic
people
Church
try to do like
I don't know.
When it's like this is the first thing that came to mind. Like when you're at work or at school and the parking lot's packed and getting out every day at 3 p.m. is packed, and one person drives over like a patch of grass and skips like an hour line, and then two people start to do it. No big, no one says anything, but then like a bunch of people start to do it. So then administration, you can't do that. But in this case, administration is the Pope and the church and the Catholic Church, and they're mad not because people are just skipping the line. They're mad because the truth of the matter is it has nothing to do with your good deeds, or I'm sorry, people get pissed at the church. It really starts with your specific belief.
And our church actually, our church enforces this, so we're not kind of like talking out of our butts. They reinforce our principles.
Well, that's what it is.
Why
you have to believe. If you don't believe, it doesn't matter how. If you get down on your knees and service the church, okay? No.
I think they're just
your good deeds, but in this case,
I think they're more mad because people are starting.
They're ditching them. They're realizing we don't need your because you're over here approving of homosexuality. What's your opinion on that is
well, yeah, we don't hurt or make fun of or any of that kind of stuff.
I'm not
into
that. Because to me, you got to take the emotion out of it.
I don't fully endorse it, but I would never, ever.
It's a medical condition.
Yeah, I would never hurt somebody because of that.
It's a medical condition.
I don't think God would want us to. He would want us not to be like that because it's not God. But anywho, so I just think that. But what I was thinking of when you're talking about Revelation is, so we've been learning the first 3.5 years of the tribulation is kind of like the seals are opened, and it's more of like, quote unquote, Satan's wrath on the world, right? And then or is it? I know it's the last 3.5 years for sure. The last 3.5 years is like Satan's wrath. I think the first 3.5 years are just kind of like unfortunate events. I think that it's all kind of like, I don't think, because then they say the day of the Lord is like God's wrath, and they try to differentiate God's wrath from Satan's wrath. But technically, I think it starts when God gives like Jesus and the angels and everybody the go, like start opening the seals. Let's like the stuff can start happening. So I personally think that I think he has his hand in everything. I don't think it's God's full wrath on the earth during that time. I think that's reserved for the day of the Lord. But I still like to, I don't like to separate it like
I said, you don't want to be
You just don't want to be in any of it. And I mean, obviously, we get raptured when we get raptured, and I think that
this is why we take forever.
God will definitely, I think he protects his people, even during times when they have to go through really horrible things. So I think either way, you're protected. Either, that's how I've gotten in my prayer. Either, if we're raptured, which I think I'm going with pre-trib just based off of my own like prayers with the Lord. And I've done a little bit of research to kind of back that up because there is little bits of proof. There's no complete proof for a rapture of the timing of it. And I think most people will admit that. It's more of like a position that you take based off of prayer and, your own study. I think that Dave, the way he teaches it, I could see his viewpoint of he teaches the pre-wrath rapture where we get raptured right before the day of the Lord, because he likes to fit things into the timing and like put the biblical things together, and I could totally see that too. I think I just hope that we don't have to go through it. One, through my prayers with the Lord, I've gotten a different feeling. And three, there is some biblical proof that, God's children do get rewarded and that we may not go through all that. So it's a combination. And there's a lot of other things that I'll leave out so we can save some time. But
I think that
that's sort of a quick synopsis.
people want to just say the rapture. I'm sorry. I think what's stopping God can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, well, right.
I think there's more than one. I think at the very beginning, like, if you're full blown, you're in, you're good. I don't know what the criteria is, whatever. You get in. And then, obviously, because there's people that aren't going to believe, but God still gives you a chance. So, bad stuff starts happening, and maybe some people are like, oh, well, on the fence people, but they fully commit. Then maybe you have another rapture. Just from what I read, it doesn't seem to me like there's actually one.
From what I've gotten in the prayer,
there's one section where it says that the verbiage on it tells me like when they had to wash their robes in Jesus' blood.
No, we both get different. So let's bring this passage up.
No, we don't.
Because we get a little, we see each other's viewpoint of it, but we each take it slightly different. So you say your viewpoint, and then I'll say mine.
Ours don't, but they don't clash.
They don't clash, but it's just more of a point of how you can sort of interpret something different.
She puts more emphasis on one part, and I put more emphasis on the other.
So you do yours.
Well, I don't even remember the gist of it. It speaks to me when it says that during tribulation. Well, you see, we have to have it in front of us so I can point out. But
I think
it's something along the lines of people have to wash their robes in the blood. It seems to me that after tribulation starts, they have to put in work. It's work to to convert, to believe, or whatever. Not work as in good deeds, because it's not that your relationship work. I mean, work as far as putting your relationship, and that's why they then get another rapture. I just think why wouldn't there be? It's God. He can do whatever he wants. You gotta be careful that when you get into your position or you hear it from someone else and just regurgitate it, that's the worst. You really got to read this stuff yourself. You can take other people's opinions in, but you have to think for yourself.
I don't have the exact verses, but I remember that it was about, I think, the children coming up out of it says that I think the angel was talking to John, and he's like, who are these people here? Oh. And John's like, oh, you know who they are? And he's like, and then the angel is like, these are the people that came out of a great tribulation. And they washed their robes. They washed their robes clean in the blood of the Lamb.
Now, she thinks it means their entire life, because their entire life is a tribulation.
Well, Jesus specifically does talk about verbiage tribulation in the Bible. So he does talk about that you're going to have tribulation in your life, throughout your whole life. It's going to be a struggle. And that exact verbiage is used. People, I have it on my timer. So that was part of it. Also, part of it is that we as Christians make ourselves new. We wash ourselves clean, and we are now new in the blood of Jesus, because through him and through his death on the cross, we are now clean in front of the Father's eyes, so we can be presented to him. So, I mean, I could see how you could take it, because of the timing in Revelation. I see why people might think like it's referring to them coming up from the Great Tribulation, and I think Dave was trying to put it in the context of a little bit later, but you have to be careful because John gets taken back a lot of ways and forward.
Yeah, you can see it as reviewing what's going on, like a recap.
Like, you think that it's all going forward, but then actually suddenly something stops and he actually goes back and gives you more information on the subject and recaps. So what I
and Dave even admitted that. Remember, that's what put it together for him, that one portion.
Yeah, and that's what kind of like for me,
you got to apply it to everything. You can't just apply it to one place. Not that he is. I'm not.
So I sort
Dave's
of think
great.
like Dave is amazing,
Yeah.
and yeah, we love listening to him. But you know, everybody works through things with the spirit on their own self. And I think that it's referring to the rapture because, you know, we're coming up out of the clouds and we're getting presented. But I don't know if I think of it as like that means that we're coming out of the Great Tribulation at that point. Like, and it means that I just think it means like here are the people that believed. They believed in Jesus. They made themselves anew. They've came out of Great Tribulation in their life. And now here they are.
In the work.
They
See,
put
ours work together. I'm just specific.
Yeah.
And they have to put in work. And I think maybe it can also apply to after the first rapture. Then you're like, oh, poop. I believe now. And then they believe and do the work in the relationship. And then there's a second rapture maybe. I don't see anything to suggest there can't be. And it's God. And keep in mind.
I'm with you 100% on that.
Let's just keep in mind. And I think this...
And then we'll end it on this so I can get into some other things.
But this is very important that you have to apply to everything that we talk about and everything in life, really, to some extent or another. Our opinions are based on what we read, prayer, other people's, everything. They are, of course, subject to change because we're not some of those people that, I'm right and that's blah, blah, blah. No one ever knows. You don't know.
We're just trying to work through it with God.
If you get, let's just say that one or two words was not translated correctly on accident, like the Great Tribulation or just a tribulation.
A Great Tribulation.
That can throw off
a lot of
the
things.
Meaning of an idea, a part of the Bible that changes it completely. So you've got to keep that in mind. You just, based on what we have and what we've read, we've formulated our opinions, which we think makes sense.
Right.
But as usual, with everything in life, subject to change.
And you don't ever, and there's no point of arguing with people because
I'm
it's not
right.
something to be argued
There's
about.
There's no point in arguing with me because I'm
always right. It's not like an attack. We're all going to get there together. We're all going to be there together. We're all just trying our best.
You're wrong.
Okay, so I wanted to go on because there's a couple of things. So
hey, these Twix are forcing me to eat them. You've got to take them away.
Oh, so I remember the story of evil and how you were saying how a lot of people sometimes can forget that, like sometimes they cast their blame. They don't maybe even mean to sometimes toward God and their frustrations.
Oh, yeah, it's like everybody's like, why are you letting me have
I
this
wanted
happen
to just
God?
talk about how I came to changing my mind because I actually was a person that did that.
And I told her, I was like, why
he wasn't like that at all.
I'm like, why are you blaming God? God gives you everything. You tell me.
I think I've always had and I didn't mean to. It's just when something went wrong, I would just get frustrated as like, well, God, like, why are you letting this happen? Like, blah, 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 blah. I thought, like, whatever. I failed to consider that some of the things that had happened to me really weren't because of, like, God. One, they were partly my own decisions that I made independent of him.
Well, that's number one. Number one is
when
you're
he
responsible.
wasn't in my life.
Your decisions.
I didn't have a relationship with him.
Yeah, your decisions are what got you where you are, whether good or bad. Now, your decisions could be influenced by the devil if they're bad, or by God if they're good.
I was going to get to the second point.
Yeah.
So one, I have to look at my own decision making. Did I do this independent of a relationship with God? Two, is the devil evil trying to thwart me? Because like we said, I mean, I hate to break it to people, but there is good and there is evil. They are real forces. Whether you believe in God or not, you cannot dismiss the spiritual energy that's all around us. So a lot of the times there's a good plan that God has in place, but evil is going to try to thwart it. And we'll see that in the stories of Joseph. That kind of shows how evil was trying to make something bad, but in the end, God always overthrows evil. He always uses like anything that evil tries to do. He'll
but I also think Joseph maintained a positive attitude.
And I don't want to get into that yet.
God. You have to have that too. You can't just
But so I also have to think, is that really God? Probably not, actually. God's loving. He cares deeply about me. Why would he like purposefully want to do that? There is evil. Bad things are gonna happen, but I can be assured that God is on my side. It's not him. He's the one fighting for me.
He might let you fall because he's our father, and you let kids have to learn from themselves.
But I'm
sometimes.
thinking about, especially if you're in a relationship with him, sometimes you might be in a current relationship, but the past is the past. You still have to live with the mistakes. They take time. Yeah. They take time to get worked out. Sometimes it's not like in your timeline. Sometimes it's 10 years from now until those mistakes can be undone. So it's just something that helped me change my mindset and helped like ease the frustrations when things went wrong. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, we should probably go because we're only at 20 minutes.
Let's we still have 6 minutes left before we have to start reading the Bible. So
really,
let's get into. Yeah, remember we agreed we could do 45 minutes for our videos.
Still, we don't know how long those are going to take. We should probably start.
But we can start. Let's do a quick recap of Abraham and the start, because I think it's kind of nice since we're reading the Bible through and we're getting sermons on some of the stuff that we've read with the viewers to kind of give them more of an understanding that we've got. So like the story of Abraham a couple Sundays ago, I think a lot of people can relate. Abraham was very faithful in his walk for God, but he wasn't perfect, and he was very like fearful at one point that the things that God was saying like weren't gonna come true.
Because he was old as dirt.
He was old. His wife was old. They had no kids to inherit anything, and he was just like, "How the heck is this really possible?" Because my situation is impossible.
That must have created some doubt.
So it did, and that's why the Lord came to him in a dream and took him and was like, "See, look at all these stars," and he started to like explain that these things would take a while to come to pass, and it helped. Like Abraham had to wait a good like 11 years before him and Sarah conceived, and they took another way. They ended up, as you guys know, with the handmaid, or no, we haven't. Did we get there yet? We might not have gotten there yet.
There's all sorts of workarounds and nonsense that people try.
Yeah, there's a lot of like nonsense.
People are goofs.
But Abraham, throughout his like doubts, did remain faithful. And what we learned is that, if these guys are freaking messed up, like we can feel, okay, these are the founding fathers. Like it's okay that, they're sort of not perfect too, and that God really loves to make impossible situations even more impossible.
Impossible. He must have an impossible amount of patience. Holy
Well,
moly.
it helps us also realize
the Lord has
his power
so much patience
and his glory and what he can do. Because you're just like, well, I don't know how this is going to happen. This is like, you're really dumbfounded. But then you can see God more clearly, and you really see who he is when he brings you out of something that nobody else could bring you out of. And we can really relate that to our life right now, because we have a lot of freaking impossible situations with
just like
surgeries, moves.
I'm sure our
everybody.
Like I'm sure our tens of viewers.
Yeah.
Oh well, our single digits of viewers, probably.
Right.
We might be into the dozens by now.
I just wanted to give people hope that we're all in impossible situations together, and God notices those things, and he might make them a little more impossible before he brings it, but he always keeps his promises. So you never have to really worry. So that was Abraham. Do you want to do the Joseph one just quickly?
Where's the set designer?
We did the sermon on Joseph, or I guess we could wait until we read more of Joseph.
The set designer just left this napkin out here, and I got crumbs all over.
And our last thing was Genesis 14. You can give a quick synopsis of that one, because it's not too long, and then we'll get into reading. What we just reviewed and what Genesis 14 was, with all these battles of kings that can be confusing. I just read it to you, so why don't you do that?
How Noah cursed Ham to be a slave or whatever to his brother, because when Noah got drunk and they covered him up, Noah woke up and was a turd for some reason and got all mad. You know when people are wrong and they get mad and lash out like it's your fault, instead of going, well, why did I get wasted and pass out naked? It sounds to me like that's what happened.
Right.
and he cursed Ham. It wasn't even. I think it was. What was it? Was it Shem's idea to have Ham and the other one cover their dad?
No, it was Ham.
Oh, so Ham's the one who had hatched the plan.
Yeah, he hatched
the
plan.
Well, so he was trying to be helpful. So Noah's a jerk, basically.
Well, he's an angry
old drunk.
He's kind of so. What I've gotten in prayer is that it was hard for. You have to think about being the only guy in town that believes in God and doing these. Yeah. And it can really be hard on a human. And then think about being in a flood where you see everything destroyed. You're stuck on a boat. You go a little crazy.
We had to shovel all the poop from all the animals.
And then
afterwards, there was nobody around. Like everybody, they were all getting washed away. He was probably like, "I told you." So what would you need to be?
But
after that,
I think what I got in my prayer is that he did believe in the Lord. He just didn't go about.
He was disenfranchised.
Yes. And once he got into the wine, it made him more of like that weird, angry drunk, obviously God had mercy on him because the Bible sort of just ends. There's no more to go on about him. And, so anywho, did you give him the rest of that, of like what had happened with so it was the curse?
Noah's curse came true and Ham got captured by,
Okay. So, yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just taking notes for something.
Ham got captured during when the kings all started fighting each other. I can't imagine why people fighting each other. Ugh.
Right.
Why? And then Abraham had to get together a bunch of Navy SEALs and went and
good. We're right on time.
Whooped a bunch of people's ass and got Ham back. So the curse came true, but I don't know how long it really lasted because Abraham went and rescued him.
I'm just gonna grab our thing.
And then the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah. This must be prior to when Sodom and Gomorrah got like devilized and God came down and wasted them. Wasted. That's from Grand Theft Auto for the people watching who don't know. And so this must be before that, when they were more like legit in the eyes of the Lord. It's a case cover. And so then Abraham came back, and the kings were like, "Here, have some of my wealth." And Abraham was like, "No.
I don't want to get rich from a king."
Yeah, he was rich from, which is, as long as he was already blessed by God.
Yeah, he didn't need it. I don't think
here it is. He had a bunch of his own stuff at that point already, but still.
So you got through that, right?
More or less.
Okay. Then we'll start with hopefully you got the gist. Like I said, we're trying to be more concise. But I want to get to the things that we
You started first the last like 4 weeks.
Yeah, you're fine. So you're going to start with chapter 15, and then I'll do a 20-minute timer.
How are we so far behind ourselves in the other?
Well, that's why we're going to get on it. We're going to try to do 2 chapters.
This is clearly the cat's fault, babe.
Alrighty, so let's start doing, Genesis 15,
This is
verse
weird,
1.
but I have to hold it up like this, because I noticed when I try to look down and read, for some reason I drool more in my mouth, and it gets like collection of more blah, blah, blah.
Oh, wait, let me pray.
Oh, yeah.
Lord, thank you so much for this ability to do these videos and just share our lives with people and what you're doing in our life. And hopefully that can, hopefully our relationship can help others who are also going through their own things to become closer to you. And hopefully we can clear our minds and soften our hearts so we can hear you when we are reading through these chapters. And hopefully we can also hear you and learn from you. And we just pray that you bless this video and that you bless us and you bless all that are watching this video, and honestly that you bless all of your godly children.
Sorry.
Sorry. Okay. And lastly, that you bless all of your godly children all over the world. In Jesus' name, amen.
I wasn't trying to hint at anything. My throat was just...
I just didn't know, so it's okay. Let's go for it.
So anyway, real quick, I don't know. I know everybody probably focuses on something different when they pray, but...
I'm just going to pause it because I don't want to because this is our reading.
I am very cynical by nature, and I always question everything, which is how God made me. So I think we talked about it, but I don't know if you guys once in a blue moon or once in a while, however often it happens, you'll be like praying and it's all good, but every once in a while a real nasty thought will come into your brain. A real
it does.
nasty,
It's
like,
nasty.
like,
it's freaking
it's
evil.
like,
You're
it'll
like,
thank you,
where did that come
out of
from?
nowhere, it'll be like, fuck that, there's no such thing as God, you're an idiot. Like,
yeah,
and
it's
I'm like,
bad.
whoa.
It's bad. I'm like, okay,
I'm
that's
like,
not. That's the
where?
devil.
So,
that's the devil.
So I always pray the second that I'm like, stop, and I apologize,
Yep.
and I pray. And then, lately, just a big portion of my prayers is because I am very cynical, and I don't want to. It's not like I don't want to turn into a sheep and just be blind. I don't like that at all. I hate when people do that. I hate when people turn off their critical thinking.
But you also
There's
don't
got to
wanna
be. I'm
be
trying
like,
to figure out how to fit in. I do. I totally believe. But there's just so many questions which are legitimate. Anybody who says they aren't is being, I think, purposely obtuse or ignorant because they're afraid that if they hear other ideas, we talked about this too, that it might make them question, which I said, you don't have to do. That's not how that works. That just means you're afraid. Like, if you hear other ideas, you can use them to bolster your own belief. You don't have to be ignorant or change things. It's for especially for another. But
it's just something that you're working through right now, because everybody has their thing.
But it's like I want to get better with. Questioning is okay. I don't want it to lead to doubt.
Yeah, and that's where you have to just cast it out.
All right, so chapter 15.
Yeah, so let's start it. Ready, set, go.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
After these things, I say I don't want to block the mic, though. That's what I'm nervous about. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abraham. I'm going to call him Abraham, by the way. It's still Abram at this point. He hasn't changed his name. I don't care. I don't like Abram. I don't like saying Abram. I want to say Abraham. I'm used to Abraham. He can have words with me when I die and go up there if it makes him
I don't
mad.
think he'll get her.
Lord came unto Abraham in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abraham.
Perfect. This is what I'm talking about.
I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward. Yeesh. And Abraham said, Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing I go childless? And the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus. That's what I don't get. Back in the day, it seems like these people were awful demanding. Like, I don't go around going, when I pray or talk to them during the day, I'm like, when are you going to give me my freaking, like, these people are always like, what are you going to give me? I'm like, where does that come from? Man, no wonder God smites the hell out of everybody.
He also is pretty forgiving.
Yeah, thankfully for us.
Thankfully for us.
And Abraham said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but that shall come forth out of thine own bowels shall be thine heir. And he brought him forth abroad, and said, Look now toward heaven, and tell the stars, if thou be able to number them. And he said unto him, So shall thy seed be. And he believed in the Lord, and he counted it to him for righteousness. And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another. But the birds divided he not. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abraham drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abraham, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abraham, Know of surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
This is talking about
foreshadowing.
When the Israelites go into Egypt and then they get enslaved by Pharaoh, and then the Lord brings them out. Continue.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterwards shall come out with great substance. and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the 4th generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. And it came to pass that, when the sun went down, and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace, and a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. That's all weird. I mean, I get it's just some pieces and whatnot, but
Yeah, could you just read that
that's weird.
again?
Oh,
Like
okay.
just the yeah.
And it came to pass that, when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace. I just think that means a thing that you could have a fire going, like one of those Pueblo things that we had in the backyard.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
Or something like that, or maybe
And a
symbolism.
burning lamp. So apparently, when we, I think where they can hold out to walk and see.
That makes sense.
I think that passed between those pieces. Pieces, I'm assuming, are the animals.
Maybe because that's what they did.
I don't know.
Yeah.
In the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abraham, saying, "Unto thy seed I have given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river Euphrates, the Kenites, and the Kenizzites, and the Cadmonites, and the Hittites, the Hittites, whatever, and the Perizzites, and the Rephraims." Perez Hiltonites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Those are definitely some names. Time.
Yeah. Okay, so we are at 13 minutes. So hold on.
That wasn't bad.
Pause that while we. Okay, so you just did 15, right? So now I'm gonna do
Duh.
16. Let me just write
9.
one more thing. Just stuff for the
So
talk
basically,
about.
God was warning Abraham that for 400 years, his people are going to get stuck eating Taco Bell and suffering the next day on the toilet. Pretty much what it comes down to.
I'm just thinking of things from the sermon yesterday that when we get to that
Can you
point, I
believe we
want to
have a
remember.
Taco Bell? We literally have a Taco Bell 10 seconds across the street, pretty much, close. And I've only been there twice. What is wrong with me?
Okay. All right.
And there's a Burger
sweet.
King there too, but Burger King sucks.
So now we have the covenant made. We have what I had talked about with the fear, that Abraham had, and now he believed. But it's not going to happen just yet. It's
How are
like
you-
a good 10 years, and
How
there's
are
some
you-
stuff that's about to go down that isn't really probably what God had planned, but God, He's pretty forgiving.
How's your eyes?
We're doing okay.
They
So
hurt? Good.
we're going to go start with chapter 16, verse 1. Now, I'm just going to say Sarah, because sorry is, yeah. So now Sarah, Abram's wife, bare him no
Abraham.
children. And she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarah said unto Abram, Behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarah. And Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of
Wait,
Canaan.
sorry.
So yeah, 10 years had passed from that point of the covenant.
I'm telling you right now, the more you read the Bible, the more it's obvious that he's our father and we're children and we're little turds. And we always try to work around, or we don't want to wait for the timeline he outlined. So instead
Yep.
of waiting,
Yeah, that's so
waiting,
true.
just like a kid would, you try to find a workaround and go, well, the handmaid and blah blah blah. You just make a big mess.
We've all done this in our own life.
I'm telling you, you want to
every single person does this.
This really helped me. You want to make more sense of this and have it fit in. He's our father, and they call him father, and we're kids, and we're dumb little kids, and he's constantly trying to clean up our mess and teach us. That makes the most sense. If you want to look at a breakdown, that's it.
I agree.
Yeah.
We both agree that's like such a good way to look at it, and why he's so, I think, forgiving. and why he
Thankfully.
has so
Again,
much mercy on us, because he knows that we're just little children and we don't have the wisdom and all the other
Yeah, we
things,
think we do.
that
Just like
right.
kids. I know everything.
Yes, exactly.
Holy
Okay. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. And
If she's the one who set it up, why would she get mad at
well,
her?
because it's like
Envious.
One, because she got to be pregnant, and it technically
still,
it was
she's the one who
Abram's,
wanted
but
it.
it wasn't hers. And there's always that little bit of like, I wish it could have
Well,
been me.
sure, but she
That,
despise.
women,
Despise. Well, sure. Women are even more
especially
children.
when it comes.
Women are even more children.
No, but when it comes to children, you can get a little like emotional about it. And
I agree
crazy.
completely with
Just
you.
let's go before I kill you.
Yes.
And Sarah said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between me and thee. So she felt like she did the wrong thing probably and all that kind of jazz.
Well, I would have been to her. I would have like, what do you think's going to happen when I get pregnant? You're going to get mad at me. Like, what? That was all.
Well, you always know it's not a good idea, but people don't. We all don't at the time. Like, even
that's
in
one that I think
our
even the dumbest
eyes,
people would be like,
yeah,
this is going to turn out bad.
Sometimes, like us humans, even now, we do things and
Desire. The devil.
you're just like
there's a reason
yes.
the devil and desire both start with D.
And a lot of it has to do with sex and all that. I mean, that's the easiest way for him to like get you to do something
that's a
wrong. Is the
surefire.
desire for that and all sorts of things. And like you said, just desire in anything. Okay, but Abram said unto Sarah, behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee.
See, that's another thing. God will. He's like, I don't care what you do to her. That's nuts.
That was Abram, not God.
Oh.
And when,
Never mind.
yeah, I don't.
I thought that was God.
No, God didn't do that.
Okay.
And when Sarah dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of the water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Sur. And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, whence camest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress, Sarah. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, return to the mistress, submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, and it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shalt call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou, God, seest me. For she said, have I also here looked after him that seeth me? Wherefore the well was called Beer-lahai-roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael.
A score is 20 years, right?
Don't ask me.
I think a score is 20 years.
But this is sort of, I believe, where the start of, like, because Isaac will become the Jewish nation, and then the Israelite, and Ishmael will become the Arabian, I believe. That's kind of how that starts, just with Abram, because Abram gives birth to both. So he's kind of like he's the father of many nations.
I was just thinking we should ask our single digits of viewers we were thinking about doing, like, this is our video, but we should have different playlists. Ones
Yes.
where we read more.
So we have 6 minutes left.
Okay, we're almost done.
So I don't know if we want to read another chapter.
No, let's just, because I wanted to talk. Oh, I was at the end of it?
We're
did
done.
You see him? He was sitting there waiting for it the second. He knows what time it is. He's like checking his wrist.
He does. Oh, yeah. He's always like, he's still interested. My little boy.
So, what I think we should do is, and we can do it individual if we want to, or together, and both. This playlist will be for reading the Bible and how we sort of kick it here.
Okay.
But we can have another playlist where we talk more instead of we just BS more about it.
Or our personal lives with God.
Whatever,
Like
yeah.
more of just like, what we're going through with him.
And then we
different
can have
things that he's answered and things like that, what we're learning.
And then we can have a playlist where we maybe watch other people's sermon, like that one. Look at with the organ.
Oh, I love the organ guy. I haven't watched him in a while.
And
yeah,
Jesse, no,
it's Steve.
Whatever.
It's Steve
and
for something. I
we
know.
can either talk about that and say, we agree or disagree, whatever, and we can have a playlist where we reserve for like controversial
topics.
Yeah, or supposed conspiracy, like are the Dead Sea Scrolls in the Book of Enoch, are they really supposed to be in there?
We don't even know anything about them yet, so we're not
very little. And then did the 12 tribes of Israel, when they decided what went in the Bible, from what I know, they left out those? Why did they? Have they been changed? Like, is the Bible been messed with intentionally or not intentionally?
Well, there's actually 5 videos on our church's app. There's a class on it, so maybe we should watch it because then we can see what they have to say, and we could actually do just a separate video on that. That's a great idea.
There's a lot of information out there.
We like to do education at night when Bella goes to bed. A lot of times that's when we do Revelation. So we could watch this course. We could watch the other sermons from that guy. This video is going to pertain more to our church's sermons right now,
but it's
and what
really,
we're learning. But we can do other people's sermons
too. The reason I'll fully admit that taking in new information is scary, and I think that's why a lot of people, when they even hear about it, immediately preface it with, "Oh, that's conspiracy," because conspiracy, the word that's thought up by the government to discredit people for asking legitimate questions after seeing, like, our government is full of all sorts of...
I get that there's some things that get
there's some things that are out there.
Yeah, I get that. But we're not talking about that.
But what I'm saying is when you hear information, a lot of people don't like to do that because, one, it scares them, just like Revelation's scary, but...
It's scary to people that don't understand.
But it's scary because deep down, and this is due to your reticular activating system, you can look it up. We'll get into it more later, but...
Excuse me.
You don't like to hear new information sometimes because deep down you might go, oh, that conflicts with what I think I know to be true. And that your ego kicks in your reticular activating system and you go, well, you don't want to look wrong or foolish. You don't want to realize that you've been lied to. Again, that's saying it's easier to fool someone than to convince them they've been fooled. So that's why a lot of people will well, that's conspiracy. They don't even want to look. So
and I think that can happen.
You really have to be careful with that.
I think it can even happen with God. I think people can get a lot of...
Especially, of course.
A lot of misinformation about him, and they don't even really know who he is. They just either know with maybe what a church has said that may not actually be biblical, or may use other things.
Well, totally, because...
Or just what the media says, or what other people say. So you might even not really understand who, your father is, or you just might have a lot of, from the devil. Because, the devil, his main point is he hates humans. He wants to destroy us. He wants to destroy God. He wants to destroy any relationship with God. So it's so easy for him to take a small situation where you might get angry at God and make it go rampant. And he just keeps bringing it so far down the line that you're so either angry with God or you don't feel like you're good enough for him that you just dismiss him altogether. And I think,
so misinformation.
And I think
can't tell
it's
you.
sort of good to do things like this.
But you have to talk about
that's
stuff.
The whole point of these videos is to kind of give a better understanding through this Bible of who he is.
I can't tell you I can't tell you how many times I'll come across a random post that involves God, whatever, God, the topic comes up, and someone will be like, well, I quit reading the Bible. I don't read the Bible because it's a hypocritical, blah, blah, and I will go, well, okay, tell me what parts. And I'm not being a smartass. I tell them I'm not being a smartass. Say, is it Genesis, Leviticus, John, Psalms?
Like, where is it?
And then because I want to read it, and I have never once gotten a response with specific verses telling me this is where they've seen. So obviously they're just regurgitating, but I'm sure there's instances where people will point to some things that they heard, from their God, the TV, because that's what most people's gods are, the TV. Let's be honest.
Not everybody's.
No, but a lot of people.
They might not even realize it like that.
But that's what it is, right?
They just bail on
it.
They
hear it on the TV.
It just means like you just spend a lot of time listening to it.
They hear the TV and they take it as gospel. They take it as truth.
That's what we
They don't question the news or the government. So they might have only been told one verse that's completely out of context. Or maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'll look and I'll agree with them. That's the scary part. And that's why people don't like doing that, but you must. And not only must you do that, you must do that without being ready to apply your beliefs to twist them to make whatever they're going to show you wrong. Before you even look at it, you've got to go in with an open mind. You can't go in going, well, all right, I guess I'll read this, but I know it's going to be wrong, and I'm going to find out of me. You can't listen to someone the whole time while you're trying to think of, that's why they're wrong. You have to listen to them and then process it.
Next, I was just thinking, next video, I want us to talk about what we learned in the Holy Spirit class about the personality of the actual Spirit. That is going to be a great topic. So we'll devote some of our intro on that. So I think it's actually time to close out, but I just wanted to...
Jeez Louise.
You said about 50 minutes was your top, so I went with that because I know we like to talk. So, and we fit everything in. So next video, we'll spend a lot of time on what we learned about with the Holy Spirit last week and then this Sunday. So why don't you close us out with a prayer? Because we are so blessed, and we really are. I don't think people understand how blessed we are. We all take it for granted.
Dear Lord, thank you for the great deal on this microphone. It was a good price, and it's an awesome mic, and it looks cool, too. Dear Lord, once again, we'd like to thank you for giving us this time and the energy to make this video and try to discern the truth of your word. And we'd also like to thank you for how much you've blessed us. And we hope that you continue to bless us and our friends and our family and our animals. And if you could find the time to smite our enemies.
That's your favorite line, I feel like.
Yeah.
In a good way.
In Jesus' name. Amen. That's because I know my job, and she's just like, no.
I'm not saying no.
She even asked God, because she talks to God. Like, he tells her
I didn't
things.
say no.
She asked him, she's like, what is he really here for? And God was like, none of your business.
Well, it's not. You can't, I think he meant it as like, you don't, that's for him.
He was like, yeah.
You have yours, he has his. All I know is that you'll be okay in the end, so we don't have to worry.
I know, okay.
I'll be up in heaven, and he'll come down and do his job. But I'll know that it's no big deal.
Let's just
Bella and I'll kick it together while you have some fun, and then you'll come back to us.
Let's just say, after the rapture, the people that are still here that aren't working, that aren't changing
you want to be in the battles. He wants to be in the battles.
You won't want to see me when I come back, when I go out and come.
We all know.
That's what I was saying. Let's just say if you're here and you're on the devil's team.
Because we're about to learn about the Battle of Armageddon. So this is this is the sixth bowl. Like, this is the end of the wrath. So I think that might be, and there will be battles and stuff. But we're going to learn about that one because I wonder if if people have a hand in that. So anywho,
well, yeah, even Dave
thanks
was
for
like,
watching. Yeah, this is awesome.